I'm architect Kanhai Gandhi, co-founder of KNS Architects. KNS Architects is a practice founded by three main directors, Shresht, Kashyap, Neemesh, Shah and myself. A design philosophy primarily evolves around a principle called our space, where by our space we mean it is a combination of mine and yours, where mine means the design as the architect and yours is client's aspiration. Our client was a young guy and he basically traveled a lot. And his aspiration was something which had to be modern and contemporary and to break away from the tradition. At the same time, the basic principles of Vastu had to be followed. This particular project is a first home for a client in one of the upcoming suburbs in Ahmedabad. It was a piece of land which was actually surrounded by single family units. The site that we inherited was a barren piece of land and very arid. And it was primarily a rectangular piece of land. With the east side angling out towards the north. We kept in the sun paths, which are very important for any design in India. So the sun moves from the east to the west. And we have the winds coming in from the southwest and from the northeast. What we did was we actually placed the site on the southwest side of the site. This actually helped us in a couple of things. One, it created a large expanse of lawn space on the northwest side. It basically, as you see, is the structure is on the south side. So we have a great distance for you to perceive the structure. And at the same time, we follow the basic principles of Vastu by keeping the entire structure on the south side, which helps in make the south side heavier. It's a nice rectangular piece of land, but it's part of a urban scape. So what happens basically, there are no view sheds, external view sheds which are there. So what we had to do was we created a central courtyard which becomes a pivot to the entire planning of this house, which becomes even sort of a focal point and becomes a large interacting space within the house where one space speaks to the other space. So we kept that in mind while designing the house. That's the central courtyard. We had the entry from the northeast where a person drives here. He gets off at a drop-off point. So that's the veranda with the drop-off point. We move further. We have the core of the house, which has a nice, beautiful spiral staircase. The northwest extends into a living room, which has primarily two functions. One is an informal living room and a double-heighted formal living space, which actually opens out into the landscape area. Moving on, the private areas are kept in the west and the southwest, which are the bedrooms. We have the kitchen and the service area, which is kept in the southeast. And we have the dining area, which is in the north. At the same time, there is a reflecting pool, which is abutting and enveloping around the dining area. Anything when it comes to designing a villa, the relationship of an indoor and outdoor is very important. So when you're designing a built structure, it's very important again for the indoor and outdoor to connect. And when it comes to the outdoor, it can't just be a built structure which is very man-made at the end of the day. So you have to see how the landscape flows into the indoors. So that was our main focus, to create an urban oasis while doing this site. Now, there were certain very simple key features which were used. One was we used the landscape as a direction, like a movement. When I actually enter the site, I have these three bands which actually move along the driveway, which was intentionally done and which actually terminates into our built structure, which is a part of the main elevation feature. So you see this nice movement which goes up. Apart from that, what we did was We had to make it very modern and contemporary. So we had a double height formal living room. At the same time, we have to take care of the climatic conditions in mind also, because it really makes the place very hot. So what we did was, around the formal living area, we actually had these nice trees fringing around it, which in a way make this space look very divine from inside as well as outside. Adding to that further, that we had extensive south and the west side. So what we did was, we had this very thick plantation around this. So what it helped us to do is that, in a way, it helped us to screen off the build structure from the neighbors. At the same time, it gave us a strong sun screening or sun shading to the structure. The main intention was to create a build structure which took in care of the climatic conditions in mind. So, as what we strongly believe, that architecture is not a cosmetic skin or a language which can just be made in this on a build structure. So it was a very conscious effort. What we did was, we created this envelope which was pivoting around the central courtyard. It went along the entire central courtyard, which was primarily the first floor, and it started from the drop-off point, which is the canopy, and it moves around the ground floor, and it terminates on the northwest side as one strong design feature. We actually projected the entire first floor out by 2 meters. What this did was, when it actually envelopes around the ground floor, it basically starts looking like a floating mast. So that became our main unique talking point for the project, as well as the look and feel for the structure. The floating mast is not just an aesthetical treatment to the build structure. What it actually adds up is, it creates, since it's a 2-meter projection, it helps in giving a nice cooling and shading effect to the ground floor structure. Another very important feature of this house was an entertainment zone. Now, this entertainment zone had to be a zone which was a bit cut off from the other zones of the house. So what we did was, we planned it in the lower ground, and it was connected from the outside, from the external lawns, with a nice floating staircase, which is a very good looking element which takes you from the lawns into the entertainment center. At the same time, on the eastern side, we created this nice big light well, which was fringed around with a lot of landscape features. So it becomes a good aesthetical treatment, and it helps in cooling, as well as gets in a lot of natural light which comes into the lower ground. So it in a way helps us avoid the artificial lighting in totality. The interiors has been kept very simple, uncluttered and minimalistic. All the habitable spaces open into the courtyard, which actually adds to it being seamless, connecting the indoors and outdoors. What we've seen of late is, because there's so much available on social media, people just refer to them, and they just either cut, paste or copy paste. Architecture is not a cosmetic treatment. It's an amalgamation of site, location, climate and the functional needs of the build structure. It all needs to come together, and that is what architecture is all about. It just can't be one nice unique piece standing out there, because everything is not iconic. It is eventually made for a person. So if you don't design for a person and don't keep the human scale in mind, then it doesn't work.